the phases. The very first phase of the sales and distribution is, or let me tell you what phase is. You're trying to sell to a customer. So the first thing is that that customer that you are trying to sell needs to be within the SAP system. I cannot sell to a customer that does not exist within the database. If you remember databases, one of the things in order to establish a relationship between the tables, when you are establishing the relationship, you need to make sure that you do not have anomalies. And also, when you're establishing the relationship, you want to make sure that you have integrity between the tables, which means that you cannot create an order for a customer that does not exist within the customer table. And that's why our first exercise in the sales and distribution is to actually create a customer. So the process starts with create the customer. And once the customer has a profile, that profile specifies how much credit you can give them, when are they expected to pay? Are they expected to pay right as soon as they receive the invoice, or do they have 60 days credit or 30 days credit? How much will you charge them if they do not pay after 1 month? Usually companies have what do they call it, when a late fee. All of that is actually defined in the profile. So once I have create the customer, then I can start now the selling process. Like every single phase, or there is a pre-sale or a pre-purchase documents that are created before you actually are bound to the process. So in selling, what would be a pre-selling document? A document that we would create, but it is not binding to the customer and it's not binding to us. The invoice is something that you create very late in the process, because you actually cannot invoice until you have already shipped to the customer. Inquiry. So I create an inquiry, and that's, I get a phone call from someone asking about a product, or an email, or in a chat room, I am entering an inquiry. Now, why would SAP capture that document? Why is it important to capture the inquiry?
So we can track what the customer was trying to inquire about and what the price of the quote is.
Exactly, because someone in customer relationship management will go in and say that customer actually inquired, but they never transferred that inquiry into an order. And you, as a business, as a company, you are interested in transferring these inquiries into an actual sales order. That's right, follow up. And and that reminds me, who's group number 1 and group number 5? Your group is under my group. There is a link that says my group, and you should see a number. You were supposed to prepare to go over the customer relationship management exercise. I don't know, it's based on the syllabus, it was actually the 3rd. So, it is, I mean, like, I understand people are not understand, we're not meeting face-to-face, and this is the first time, so now I'm going to go into the syllabus and I will move everything down. But you guys really need, like, to get along together and go over the exercise. You are working in a group, you should see your group and your group members and communicate with them. So I do not check until Friday. So, but I don't want to go out of context, so we'll go back to the process, and then I will go over the projects after we finish the review.
It's not a group.
It should say, yeah. We start with group 1 and 5, and then 2 and I think 1 and 4, 2 and 5, and then 3 by themselves, because it's a small margin. Okay, so going back, let's postpone this discussion until we finish the process. So we said that the inquiry is not binding neither to the client nor to us as a company. All we are doing is trying to capture information about the customer and what they are interested in. I understand I want to follow up with the customer. You are also interested in the item that they are purchasing. Why? Because when you are going to send them the quotation, what are you going to include? Is the quotation now binding? So we said that the third phase is create the quotation. Is the quotation binding? I know you can't see very well, but I'm going to increase the size of the on the left.
Binding us, because we're selling the product, but it doesn't bind the customer.
Okay, it is binding to the vendor,
Yes.
and he or she or the company must honor the price on it. So the only thing, it's not binding to the customer at that point. A quotation is just trying to give them enough motivation for them to buy. What would you include on the quotation? And that's part of the exercise.
We'll give them a tax rate.
Excellent. So you say, this quotation is valid from that day to that day. And a lot of the questions or the problems that students had was that they left the valid to empty. What does that do? You can fill the quotation with the valid to empty, but you cannot copy it into a sales order. So people try to copy the quotation into the sales order and they get an error. The only reason is they left that valid to. They have a valid from, but they don't have a valid to. If your quotation does not have a net price, there is no way that you can copy it into a purchase order. What is it that you are putting in there? It will, unfortunately, SAP does not alert you and say, you don't have a net price, you don't have a valid to. They assume you want to go back and work with it. They won't allow you to copy it, but it will let you save it. Once I have a quotation, now you guys have done purchasing. You know that you have a seller and you have a buyer. You've already covered the 2 phases. You know that the quotation is sent because of an RFQ has already been sent. So the RFQ on the purchasing side is sent, the company responds with a quotation. Now, when I get the quotation as a purchasing company, what do I do? We've already covered that Tuesday.
Basically, you can go over the quotation and send a buyer.
Usually you get more than one quotation because we said part of the control is that you do not allow only one vendor to send you a quotation or to approve just one vendor, because it would allow fraud and it may not be covered until later on. I mean, after so many attempts have been made. So you create the quotation on the vendor side. They are evaluating several quotations, either price, quality, or delivery, or even combination of 3 to get a percentage. You see that there is a percentage when you evaluated the quotation. That percentage, the system is telling you which is the best option that you have. If you have only one criteria, then percentage is based on that just one criteria. But you can have, it can be the price, it can be previous delivery date. Did they honor the delivery date that was on the quotation or not? Did they did I reject any of their goods because it was not good quality? Purchasing, yeah, on the other side. Once I create the quotation, I'm waiting to get what? And you have to be careful, because on the exam I'm not going to ask you about just one cycle. I'm asking you, do you understand the integration between the two, even though they are on two different sites, two different companies? What would be my next step in the sales and distribution after I create the quotation? Not a purchase order, a sales order in response for the purchase. So when I was asking you what will cause the next step to come, it is I received the purchase order. So the fourth is create a sales order in response for a PO. Because you guys, when you created the sales order, you had a text box that say, what is the PO? And it told you to put your GBI numbers. But in reality, and actually one of the questions that I asked on the exam, how come the system did not generate the PO? Why didn't the system generate its own PO? Yeah, it's coming from a vendor, totally different system. I don't know what PO they have, what number sequence they have. Yes, it's coming from the vendor. So, yeah, it's coming from the customer. Yeah, the buyer. Sorry. Create a sales order. So you create a sales order in response for a PO coming from the buyer. Okay, what would be the next step? So you create a sales order. System will allow you to create a sales order. But what do you have to do before you go to the next step? The question is, I got an inquiry. I sent a quotation. They accepted my quotation and sent me a PO. As a result, I created a sales order saying, I want to sell 50 laptops to X, Y, and Z. So I cannot do anything yet. No, before even a pick order, you have to check availability. And there is a term that's available to promise. ATP is that's what you actually check. Is it the same as inventory? And that's a very good question that I also provide. Is the ATP the same as the in-stock quantity? The answer is no. May not be. Yes, because I may have someone who has an order. So the quantity in stock is 100, but I have promised 30 to someone else. You're only checking the ATP, not in stock. Available to promise. So, most important thing is the ATP, not the in-stock. The in-stock may be above the ATP because it's waiting for someone to pick it up from the warehouse and ship it to another customer. That's right. That's right. Okay, once I see that I have enough to promise that particular customer, what would be my next step? Well, actually, one step before, you cannot pick unless you have actually issued within the system a delivery note. So you need to create a delivery note. What does it mean, delivery note? Well, yes, because the delivery note reference a sales order, and it actually says it is okay to pick. So you're giving permission to pick from a certain warehouse, and that's why you have to specify a storage location. Where are they going to pick it from? So I create a delivery note. Remember, the delivery note is just an approval to pick from the warehouse.
So basically, the sales department is giving the logistics department.
Yes, yes. Number 7, that's a pick release. I release the goods picking. At this point, am I shipping? Is the pick release the same as shipping? No.
Yeah, there's another phrase.
Usually they go to a packaging area. They don't ship you the actual thing that's in the storage. They put it inside of a box. They package it. They put labels on it. So that's what we call a packaging area. Preparing to ship. What would be the 8th step? So they package it. It's ready to be shipped. When I ship, what is this? What's the name of that thing?
Basically, you're moving it from one location to the other.
So that's the post goods issue.
So this is when the invoicing will be done now.
Only then. Now, 100 students come with the problem. I can't bid. I can't create the invoice. And I say, and I go, okay, let's look at your outbound delivery. And I see only an outbound delivery. No picking, no shipping, no post-goods issue. Of course, it will not allow you to bid. How can you bid? How can you charge someone that you did not ship? What happens when I ship? What happens when you ship? Well, ownership is transferred to the customer. You no longer become the owner of that good. He becomes the, and that's only when you can charge that customer. You cannot damage that customer before you ship, because before that item becomes his or her ownership. How can they charge it for something that they did not own?
Maybe you show post-goods, the ownership automatically changes.
The ownership automatically changes.
That's when we can do the packing slip and then we can do the
The system can be set to generate the invoice automatically when you hit post-goods issue. They, in SAP, created the exercise so that you can see all the steps, so they did not automate it. In the configuration, you can set it to where automatically, I don't want to enter the invoice, I want the system to enter it. The only reason they are letting you do this step because they want you to see all of the phase. But every organization would automate the invoice. And one of the questions on the quiz, if you have taken the quiz, is when is the auto invoice generated, or when will it take place? After post-goods issue. It's not after pick release, it's not after outbound delivery, it's not after the sales order is entered. It's only when I have shipped. Okay, so post-goods issue will result in several things. Will result, if you have set automatic invoicing, the invoice will be created. It will affect inventory. At that point, when you check availability, the in-stock will be reduced. The in-stock will not be reduced when you have a pick release. The in-stock will not be reduced when you create the sales order. It's only reduced when you ship, which makes sense. If it's still in storage, it's still in storage. So it affects inventory, affects accounts receivable, affects goods of cost sold. Because when I sell, when I ship, inventory is reduced, but my cost of goods sold is increased, right? Cost of goods sold. Did I sell when I ship? Did I sell when I ship? Yes. Did I sell when I just quick release. No. Nothing is reflected inside of the system.
The cost of goods sold is increased.
Yeah,
Due to the post acquisition.
that's right. Because now they are considered goods sold. So the cost will be increased by the amount of the quantity that you sold. Okay, guys. So now go ahead.
So like when you go online and you buy something online,
They don't charge your account.
that's what I was
They don't charge until they ship. When they ship, that's when you see the thing on the credit card. The exception is the rental cars. And they actually charge you much more. They put on the credit card much more than the thing as an insurance. They say $200, I think. Yeah.
that's what you immediately.
That's immediate. And then yeah, it's just a hold, yeah. Okay, so we do a post goods issue. What's next? Okay, so 9 would be create the invoice or auto invoice will run automatically. So guys, don't tell me billing I have a problem billing the customer. All you have to do, go back to the outbound delivery, whatever number it should start with an 8, 6 zeros, and then 2 digits. Go there and see. Look, and I'm going to show you now how to actually check within SAP. You have to check and see where is it that you are. And for 460, I mean, if you are not 3 or 4 trying to get done with the exercise, you really want to understand how the system is working and where is it that I'm stuck. So we create the invoice or run auto invoice. Yeah, I should put it. Please ask questions, because that will make it clear to everyone.
I was asking a question. When does the goods receipt come into play?
Very good question. The excellent question, because it clarifies a lot. It's not in this cycle at all. Goods received is in purchasing. I received it.
Right.
So when I ship, if you are looking at the two companies in parallel, when I have the post goods issue, and they actually receive the goods on the other side, that's when they enter on the other side. The buyer is entering a goods receipt. Seller has nothing to do with the goods receipt. So you cannot say, I'm going to charge you when you receive the goods. No, no, no. I ship, I charge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you wouldn't know when they received it.
Yeah. Okay, so we create the invoice or run auto invoice only then after the post goods issue. What is my last step? How are you doing, Henry? Aren't you Henry? I remember. So what is our last step? Well, accounts receivable already, when I create the invoice, accounts receivable is reflected. But payment, I'm going to credit accounts receivable when I get payment. So enter payment. Is it incoming or outgoing?
That is right. Incoming.
Incoming, yes.
You remember that, though? Get certified? Yes.
Okay, guys. So 10 phases. I have to create the customer. I start with an inquiry. It is a pre-sale document. It is not binding to anyone. When I send it, the reason that I'm creating the inquiry is to capture information about the customer, send it to CRM so that they can follow up with that customer. I wait to get an RFQ, and when I get the RFQ, I respond by sending a quotation. My quotation will have the validity date. When is the price valid, from when till when? If I don't specify the date valid to, There is no way you can copy the quotation into a sales order. I wait for that quotation to be accepted on the buyer side and for them to send me a PO. When I receive the PO, I create the sales order. My sales order will have the condition. If you have, and I forgot to tell you something, in the quotation, you also specify the discount that you will give to the customer.
I'm thinking, like, if you paid enough,
That's right.
you get 2%.
Usually, there are several discounts that you can specify, and the exercise that you guys did, you had two types of discount. One on the material itself, and you would do that if you want to get rid of the stock of a specific material. So you want to sell, you want to get rid of everything that is black touring or deluxe touring bike because you are going to stop manufacturing that type. So I would give a discount on that material. Or I can give a discount on the total for the order. Again, enticing the customer to order more so that they can get discount more. Macy's does that all the time. They send you these coupons and they say, get a $20 off a $50 purchase. So that's on a total. Like they want you to purchase at least $50 so that you can get the $20. But sometimes they go and put on a specific item. So the polo shirts this week, yeah. So usually the quotation will have certain discounts either on the material, either on the total. Where else will I see a discount? So it's either I want to get rid of stock, or I want people to buy more, or where else?
Okay, you receive your payment faster.
Usually the credit is determined by a customer profile. And when you created the customer,
I've seen where, you know, I have my own business, so when I order stuff, it'll say on the bottom, if invoice paid within 7 days, there's a 2% discount.
okay. But are you saved within that system? Are you a one-time buyer, or are you a frequent buyer of that company?
Frequent buyer.
If frequent, then they may not be using a system like SAP, or they may not be using that feature. When they create a customer inside of SAP, they create a profile for that customer. The profile would specify how much time you would allow for credit. Pay within 30 days, pay within 60 days, and in that exercise, you had 001 as the code, which means pay immediately. Now, you can specify in every customer profile how much discount you will give within the 7 days. So you don't have to entice the customer every time. It will be pulled up out of their profile. And that answered my question before I come to yours. Do you want to answer the question? Okay, go ahead.
Company that they had for 20 years and we always give them to keep that loyalty.
Yes. And they actually upgrade their customers in order to reward them for their loyalty. So every 2 years, you get moved up. One, like instead of getting the 2%, you're getting a 5% discount. And that's all within the system, because one person will not, or whatever role a person plays, will not be able to keep up with everything. Yes, sir.
Is that kind of like when you have standard and then you have premium?
Actually, yeah, that's exactly it.
You get a certain.
The system automatically does it. Of course, a manager can go and what they call it, like bypass the system, override the system. Like giving a particular customer in store a discount because the item has some kind of a defect, or they're buying whatever is displayed. So they go in and they give you a 15% that's based on, and again, it is within the, when we do configuration, the configuration exercises, you will see that even when they have that authority to bypass the system or override, they have it within a certain limit.
This got to be accounted for.
That's right. So I can give you a 10% discount, but I cannot go beyond the 30%. And it is again set up within the system. All of these are controls. They are called tolerance limit. Am I allowed to even exceed that limit? Within a 1%, yes. I will not give you the error or say, if it is within 1%, I'm not going to escalate it to your supervisor or so, and let it go this time. So, you see, the beauty of something like SAP is taking into consideration everything, and controlling also everything. Nothing is just sporadic or random, no. Everything is accounted for. At any point in time, I can see why certain person did whatever they did. Because if they give a discount, they have to put in within the system a note why they gave the discount. That's right. Yes. Not everybody. It's actually only the IT. The IT people go and they go in as a safe mode, because someone may be also unethical within IT. So the system takes that precaution that when you go in, you are going in not in the normal mode, the standard mode, in a safe mode, and it's capturing everything that you are doing. So you are changing anything. Again, there is someone above you who will get a report saying they have changed that. So again, that brings back the point, they are taking everything into consideration. If people understand that, then it really lowers unethical behavior within organizations. Anything regarding the process, phase, and distribution? Okay, the next thing is to go over the documents. If you don't have any questions, or anyone has a problem with the long phase and distribution exercise, that's the one due tonight.
I thought we was going to do it in here or something like that.
Oh, there's no way you can do anything in the lab. You watch the videos, you do them. And I actually did 1 to 22. They are videotaped, so you can go and watch them if you want. I have a class. You know? What is it? Very good, very good. There is, for everything, even I get stuck sometimes, and I go and I Google it, and I see hundreds of answers for the question. I mean, like the simple thing, I was trying to grade, like the whole class on one screen. I didn't want to go back and forth. And I put in, can I see the last names of all users? And they said, go to transaction S816, put in the table USER address, and you will see all of the users. That saves me a lot of time. I mean, like I could have taken 2 hours to grade. Now I'm doing it in 5 minutes. So yes, and that's part of the learning. It's not intentional that I'm not helping you, because actually online is forcing you to learn more than if it is face-to-face. The 3 or 4, the face-to-face, they come and they wait until the very last minute thinking, I can't have 84 students at the same time on one day. There's no way. There is a reason why I say, watch, do before you come to solve problems. Do you have a problem now? Let me help you.
Yeah, I do.
So let me stop the recording so that they don't have that empty time. I'm going to look at a specific problem for one of the sales order and see how you can guys figure out what the problem is based on what we have covered so far. So I'm going to share with you my screen so you get to see everything in SAP. You tell me. I need to replace, I think, the ball. Okay, guys. So we are looking now into SAP and we'll go into Prague. We'll put in the client.
So, is there a toilet in here?
And we are trying to figure out why a particular payment is not being posted for a customer. So I'm going to go under logistics, sales and distribution, sales and order, because it is a problem with an order, and I want to display. And I put in the order number 26. And I get a very nice order in front of me. I see if you have a problem in the later phases, the things that you need to write down on a sheet of paper is the customer number, 3182. The second thing that you need to write down is the net value, 15,000. These two things must be written down so that you do not have to go back and forth while figuring out what's the problem.
This is the same one that we created.
That's right.
We submitted last time, right?
Yes. The next thing is to see where am I in that process. We talked about creating an order, creating an outbound delivery, which is a delivery note, pick release, and then post goods issue, and an invoice before I can receive payment. So if the student is having a problem with received payment, I need to see that all of the steps above are entered. Let's see, where is this step? Where can I receive payment at this point?
The document flow?
Look at the steps. These are exactly the steps that I talked to you about. I have an order. I have a delivery note. I have a picking request, which means I picked, but still in packaging. I haven't shipped. Can I receive payment? How many steps are missing? Two. Two steps are missing. I need to ship and I need to invoice. I cannot receive payment. Okay, I'm just explaining. I'm just explaining to everyone. So at this point, I need to make note of the 800 number, because that's my outbound delivery that will allow me to ship and will allow, and then after that I can invoice. So now I'm going to show you, you can create several sessions so you don't have to go back and forth between different things. So if I create another session, it will open another SAP window, but the first one is still open. So now I'm going to go in and I'll go to logistics, sales and distribution, shipping this time, and outbound delivery, and I'm going to change that single document. And I know mine ends with a 20. So you can choose actually any one, or if you see 20 right away, you can choose it. And here it is. Now let's look where the student is. Did they pick the quantity from storage? Well, it says, yeah, 5 are picked. Did they indicate the storage location? That's the plan. The storage location is a finished good. When you take warehousing, you will see that the warehouse is divided into spaces. So they have a space for the raw material. They have a space for the semi-finished goods. They have a space for trading goods, goods that I don't manufacture myself, but I trade. And then they have a space for the finished goods. So this is telling them you need to pick it from the space for FIG00. So at this point, all you have to do is just hit the post goods issue. And it says it has been saved. So let's go back and see if the document flow has changed. Where is the refresh button? Is there? Huh?
Probably it might be under file.
Let's see. I mean, I don't know how to refresh. And can someone like Google refresh SAP screen?
Would it be an F1? An F function probably.
I like to read first before I try. I hate like miss and try. For now, for the sake of time, yeah. Okay, so now I display and it says I have the good issue. What is the next step?
Now let me ask you a question. Why did it do 7,000?
No, because it actually has two lines in there, or it could be a value. That's a reference value. It could be the cost only,
Okay.
not the actual. The sales price, yeah.
And now we got an invoice, right?
It could be just the cost of goods sold, the 7,000, yeah.
Now we need to do an invoice, right?
Now you need to do an invoice. So if you go to the next screen, I can go now back and do the billing.
Create.
I don't, yeah, I'd rather like have the student finish, but the thing is, yes, they were locked because one thing you have to remember always when doing SAP, there is no way you can skip a step and think it is okay.
Now, why was Andre stuck? Well, why did he stuck? Because he didn't post the bills or what?
Yeah, because he did not post it, because he did not ship. How can you invoice without shipping? We said you cannot charge until you ship. Now he was trying to do incoming payment. How can you receive a payment for something that you did not charge the customer? You cannot fix the customer. Yeah. Okay, guys. Any other questions for sales and distribution? Anyone stuck anywhere? Okay. So we'll stop the sharing and we'll go back now to financial.
So are we going to have like once a week like this? Or once a week?
We can have once a week. The thing is, I don't want really for you to...
Sometimes online we get lost, you know, and we're here and we can ask questions.
Okay. Before we start the financials, I want to make sure we are now clear on the deliverables. So before I stop the sharing, I only shared the okay. Now for the things, the deliverables, we all agree. Thursday is when the lab is due. Sunday, you have the assignment and the quiz due. Okay? Are we all squared on that?
There's no way we can change it Thursday to a Friday.
Well, let me tell you why. You have it posted on Tuesday. What happens is students do not even attempt until Sunday. Sunday is really too late. So I don't want to say that. We allow them to still submit until Sunday, but I want to see some progress done by Thursday. I don't want it to be a habit for you not doing the lab until every Sunday, because that will limit the amount of learning. There is no way, if you're rushing yourself, even if you get done, you are not learning. You are just rushing. You're not reading. You're pointing and clicking. And the result is you fail the test. Because as you can see from my review questions, my questions are not something that you can memorize. Either you understand the process or you're not. If you cannot understand why I cannot bill before I ship, or If I tell you, order the documents, and you put the invoice at the very first step, you have no understanding whatsoever of the process. Yes, you finished. Yes, you got a 30 out of 30, but you have no understanding. And that's not my objective. I don't want you to just be pointing and clicking. I know you are saying that sarcastically. I think you will appreciate it when you graduate, when you get a job, and you go, or even when you go into an interview and you tell people the amount of things that you learned in here. I know that it is a lot, and I'm going to tell you these are like 3 SAP courses put together. Say like the processes are 1, custom configuration is second, business intelligence is 3rd. I'm putting all 3 in 1, but that's the only course that you have SAP exposure. Okay, guys, the next thing that I want to go over is that link. I'm actually recording in a totally different class.
It said that my permission was not available. You did it.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.